I'll tell you this. I was at 8-4 pretty much this whole offseason. And the closer we get, yes, I have questions about skill positions, but I'm looking at the rest of the Big 12, and I'm just trying to figure out, even with road games, of why I'm supposed to think Baylor's going to lose multiple games. And I'm having a harder and harder time doing it as we get closer because of the strengths of their lines and just some of the players they have returning that I'm excited to see, especially on defense. I do worry a little bit about just the lack of experience at skill spots. I mean, offense, there's like basically zero returning. I mean, you got like a couple of squirrel games in like Tay garbage time, and but there's not like Gavin from like 3 years ago when he but those are like the stats you're really playing with a lot of this offense outside of Blake Shapen. So like that remains a concern, but I'm leaning closer to 10 games than I am 8 games at this point, just because even those road games, I respect Iowa State, but I don't think that Baylor can't beat them in Ames, Iowa. I respect Texas, but that doesn't mean I don't think Baylor can beat them in Austin. Now, I'm not ready to think that this team, as young and as inexperienced as it is just going to go through the whole road slate unscathed. So that's why I'm not, going all in on undefeated. But I do think they're going to drop a couple of regular season games. But that's an improvement on me thinking they were going to drop like 4 of those regular season games. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in that 9 to 10 range now, more so than I am. And I'm talking regular season, more so than I am 8-4, which is a moderate, minuscule difference really, but not really, because winning 9 or 10 games is a way bigger deal than winning 8.
So if you were to put on paper, would you say 9-3 or 10-2?
I think I'd I think I'd lean more towards 10-2, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. And I've been at 10-2 for a while. I think this team's really, really good. And I think it's been pretty obvious. And everything that I've said, it's all about the offensive and defensive lines. They are extremely stout there, and that usually bodes really well, especially if you have a quarterback that's very good. Baylor decided to replace their starting senior quarterback with Blake Shapen, so they see an upgrade there. I think Shapen's going to be a top 3 quarterback in the Big 12 to go along with what they have up front. That's a great combination. And I look up and down this schedule and I go, okay, at BYU. They absolutely mauled BYU a year ago, and both are returning a lot on both sides on the offensive and defensive lines. But why is that a good thing for BYU after they got mauled by Baylor a year ago on the offensive and defensive line? So that game doesn't worry me as much. The games that worry me are kind of the games that I think are a little bit sneaky, as well as just tough road environments. So going to Iowa State to start Big 12 play, that's a little concerning. Sure. Iowa State plays really good defense. They're hard-nosed. They're well-coached. That's a concern. Do I think Hunter Deckers is some out-of-this-world talent? No. So I think that gives Baylor an advantage there. At West Virginia on a Thursday night, that is a very tough place to play and a game that they absolutely could drop, and one that if I were projecting their losses, that would be one in my eyes that I think they could lose. And then
I don't think West Virginia is going to be all that great. I really don't.
We're going to find out on Thursday.
No, I know, but I'm with you though. Like I'm looking where my losses are coming from. They got to come from somewhere, and West Virginia might be that team.
And they've never won there, and it's on a Thursday. It's just a tough situation coming off of beating Oklahoma State, which I'm projecting. It's just one of those games that's a little bit of a trap game. And then at Oklahoma in Norman, that's just tough.
That's one I had pegged as a loss. Yeah.
That's just really hard for me to sit there and project that they're going to go to Oklahoma and beat them. Now, I will say,
which they've done like twice ever, maybe once ever.
Once ever,
yeah.
Right? It was 2014.
Yeah.
It's the only time. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I do think if they play them on a neutral site, as in if they play them in the Big 12 championship, I think Baylor can absolutely beat Oklahoma. And I would probably predict that. If they're playing neutral or at Baylor, I'd pick Baylor to win that game. But I think that'll be tough. That's where my other loss is, I think. So I have them going 10-2. I think that that's super fair. I think it's also fair if you wanted to say 9-3 or if you wanted to say 11-1 or 12-0. That's fine as well. We've talked about 8-4 being the floor. I absolutely still believe that. I think that it would take a lot.
Yeah.
It would take a lot for them to go 8-4 in my eyes. It would also take a lot for them to go 12-0.
Yeah. I mean, to go through if they were able to go through the road schedule and take off, boxes like winning the first time ever in Morgantown, winning the second time ever in Norman, winning in BYU, like all these different
winning in Austin when they've struggled.
The very end of the year, Black Friday, when who knows what situation Texas or Baylor are in at that point in the year. That could be like playing for bowl eligibility for Texas for all we know, or that could be for a Big 12 title spot for all we know for both teams. So, yeah, I'm with you. I guess I definitely lean more towards 9 and 10 than I would 8, but 8's definitely the floor. I think anything. Yeah, I can't even come up with 4 losses for them to go 8 and 4, but that's kind of where I sit.
So I do have a question. Are you leaning closer to, like, do you think there's a bigger, a higher chance that they finish 9 and 3 or 11 and 1?
9 and 3.
Okay, so I'm on the opposite. I think there's a better chance that they go 11 and 1 than 9 and 3.
Yeah, there's too many question marks for me. Even if they're not huge questions, I need to see this team play with as many new faces in big roles as there's going to be, and a new quarterback. I mean, yeah, we saw him at the end of the year, but we didn't see him suiting up from moment one. And I know everybody's very confident about shape, and I am as well, but, like, just the grind of the season to get through at that point, like, who the heck knows, man? So you just take it week by week. But, yeah, in a perfect world, if you could ensure me, like, no injuries, everything's fine, there's no coaches leaving, there's no, drama outside that's distracting, like, no anything, then, yeah, I'd probably lean more towards, like, 11 or 12 wins. But, I mean, it's football season. There's going to be some wonky things that go on at some point, some adversity.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you don't think West Virginia is very good. What are the, if there's 3 games that you're like, I think they're going to lose, or you know what I mean, like, to get you to that 10 and 2 or 9 and 3, what are those games?
I just told you I could give you West Virginia. I mean, I'm just not convinced they're going to be that good because everybody's doing this based simply off, like, just the quarterback pickup. And I get JT Daniels is an upgrade over who they had, so he could make a huge difference for them. But, yeah, I'd say that one. Iowa State is another one, and Oklahoma. I guess I'd go with those 3. I still, I don't know how good Tech's going to be, but I don't like them going out to Lubbock with all that swirls with the familiarity and just how much that game's going to probably mean to the home team in that one. And so there's some landmines, Texas at the end, but those would be the 3 I'd probably lean heaviest on.
Okay.
And maybe I'd switch one for Texas at the end of the year, like West Virginia perhaps, but that's where I sit. So, folks, I mean, who cares? We're predicting 9-10 wins for this team. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
Compared to what we were predicting this podcast like 2 and 3 years ago, life's pretty good for the Baylor Bears. So maybe those losses don't come at all, but if a couple of them do come up, that won't be totally surprising, and some teams will have definitely earned it because we both think that Baylor's going to be pretty dadgum good this year if that hasn't been evident over the course of the last few months, because even my pessimism, I think my floor has been 8 and 4 at worst. So, I mean, that's not too bad at all when you really think about it.
And so either way, if you have not placed a bet on Baylor's win total, go do that. Because 7.5, they're absolutely.
Oh yeah, I definitely going over 7.5.
They're covering that.
Throw 100 on there for me because I don't have access. I don't even know how any of that stuff works. But yeah, I would definitely throw a hundo on there if I had the ability to.